Hey folks, welcome. Here we discuss real stories by real people. Today we have the story of a man who finds out his wife has been cheating on him and funding her boyfriend. Let's see how it goes. Story 1. I, 45 male, was married for 20 years to my wife, 43, and we've shared a bank account the whole time. Recently, I noticed that she was transferring large sums of money to another account. When I asked her about it, she got upset and said it was none of my business. This annoyed me, but I didn't want her to think I was overreacting unnecessarily. I decided I was going to do some digging and find out the truth if there was anything to make me worry. I accessed her computer and found bank statements for an account I didn't know she had. While checking her Gmail accounts, I found out that alongside her company and personal account she had logged in, there was another account she had opened with her sobriquet. Out of curiosity, I clicked the account and read through the messages. I discovered that there was only one recipient of the message, and it was a guy she was cheating on me with. It was clear that he was using her for money, and he never seemed to want to spend time with her unless she was paying for something. I discovered that the whole time my wife claimed she needed money to sort an expense or to handle a personal bill, she was diverting the money to this guy. He was a younger guy and was in college. I imagined my wife giving her body and money to a guy who thought of her as a cheap stick. My body shivered with anger at my wife's betrayal. I got in touch with the guy and offered him money to do what I wanted him to do. I told him that I wanted him to meet me in a foreign country with my wife. He agreed, and I flew them both out there, him in the earlier flight. While my wife was relaxing by the pool, I took her phone, cash, credit card, and passport. I then went back to the hotel and met up with the guy. I introduced myself and told him to follow me. We went to the pool where my wife was lying. My wife was shocked, but she tried to feign innocence, but I would have none of it. I told her I knew the truth, and I brought him there on purpose. I told them to enjoy themselves and have a good time with my wife. There was no need to be sneaky. I left and went back to airport. A few hours later, my wife called me from a different phone. She asked if I had stolen her things, and I said yes. I then hung up the phone. The next week, my wife came home. I had divorce papers at the ready. She signed them and moved out without even a word. Part of me expected her to feel sorry or apologize for her behavior, but she never said anything. It was like the divorce was what she always wanted. Maybe the marriage ring was a shackle on her wrist. Maybe I could have handled things with more dignity. Our final hearing is scheduled for next month. I don't even know what to feel. Update. Last week, she came to my house and told me that she regretted not fighting to stay in the marriage. She said that she wanted to start afresh, and she suggested that we get back together. She said she would do anything to make it up to me. Getting back together was the last thing on my mind, but I needed to know why she was unfaithful. I might not have been the perfect husband, but I was good and was willing to change for her sake. So why did she cheat? As you guessed, she blamed me. She said it was my fault that I married her early and she never got the chance to see what dating with other guys was like. She wanted to know the feeling, and that's why she cheated. I was furious. I told her to never come back to my house again, and I threatened to call the police if she ever contacted me again. I'm still not sure what I'm going to do now. I'm so angry and hurt. One thing, I know her chapter in my life is over. I don't want her in my life anymore. I'm sorry this happened to your marriage, OP. Your ex-wife threw away a stable home for something fleeting. There's no future for her with her AP, and all he wanted to do was take all the money she could offer and leave her once he got bored. I'm glad you didn't take her back. She would have sounded more sincere if she had apologized right after what happened, but she didn't. She signed the papers. You have a good life ahead of you. Explore and meet new people. Go to the gym and get new hobbies. When you're back into the dating pool, I'm sure you'll find someone better than your ex. Story 2. The last 5 years of our marriage have been great, and I don't want to throw it away. Please also try to empathize with my wife. I'm willing to put her affair behind us. The story. 5 years ago, we were both in our early 30s. My 40 male wife, 39, is very, very beautiful and sexy. Green eyes, beautiful face, fit, sexy body, big breasts. She's also intelligent, a professional with her own career and financial independence. Myself, women have always found me appealing. I had quite many girlfriends before we married 7 years ago. I'm also an independent professional with an excellent income and a prospective career. After we married, I've never cheated on my wife, although I have had many opportunities, some of them the kind not to miss. My wife has only had one boyfriend before myself. Not that she says much about her first boyfriend, but the thing I know is that they haven't had any vaginal sex since she was a virgin when we had sex together for the first time. Pretty much time after starting to date and not long before we married. This is not a big surprise, since she received quite a conservative education by her mother, a very, very restrictive one indeed. Currently, however, she's quite open and liberal with respect to sex. Our marriage was in the beginning difficult, mostly because of interfering parents and financial difficulties. We loved each other, but have had quite serious fights and even thinking to divorce. 5 years ago, we have lived very far from each other for 9 months, since I left for another country due to a job. She lived these 9 months in the city where we married and where also lives her former boyfriend. After these 9 months, she came to live with me and we never came back. When I left before this period of 9 months and left her alone, we were in a quite bad period of our marriage, writing angry emails to each other or not calling each other for a week or so. During this time, she had both reason to cheat, deteriorating relationship, and opportunity. Her job and her former boyfriend's job were nearly at the same place. I know, not any secret, for instance, that they've had lunches together many times, alone or with other colleagues. Former boyfriend is 10 years older than both of us, but kind of Don Juan, appealing to women, and I'm sure that he would not have missed an opportunity to compensate for, not entirely, consummated relationship when he was dating her. I can imagine he's been quite badly surprised during that time, such an experienced guy and big lover not managing to bring the things to an end with such an attractive girl. When, at the end of those 9 months, my wife and me reunited again, our relationship immediately improved. There were no disturbing factors as interfering parents and financial problems, and continues happy till these days. We have a baby daughter together and rely on each other and love each other. One thing that surprised me very much the first night after those 9 months of separation was a big change in the sexual behavior of my wife. During the first 2 years before the period I'm referring to, we had intense and relatively good sex life, but still she seldom was reaching orgasms. The night after the period of 9 months, during which I suspect she cheated with her former boyfriend, she had 3 explosive orgasms. And in the weeks and months after that, she's had a very strong sexual drive. She also became open to new things in bed, has been achieving orgasm every time we've had sex, even multiple orgasms, even crying after orgasm, whatever you can imagine. It was a phase transition, from enjoying sex but being conservative and quite passive to a sex machine. Currently, we still enjoy very intense sex, obviously not so explosive. My point is that such a change is usually associated by sexologists, psychologists, with cheating, getting disinhibited, gaining new experiences when cheating, or feeling guilty. Crying after orgasm never happened to her before that period nor after it. My delicate tries to understand what the reason for this brutal transition ended up with some semi-angry short comments. Because I missed you terribly, maybe or maybe not. Her former boyfriend is currently married with 2 children. He regularly sends my wife emails for her birthday and Christmas. These emails are short and nearly formal, except the familiar pet name he calls her, and except some short comments which can be interpreted one way or another depending on what you know and believe, but to me they are not totally innocent. Hints to possibly some well-kept secret between them and not one related to their unfruitful tri-relationship from the time before I met my wife. Emails which don't even send kisses, but still. Where do I know about the emails? Okay, I started to become a spy maniac. After considerable effort, I cracked my wife's passwords and can access her email. In addition, there have been occasionally some comments by my wife, very ambiguous ones, that could possibly mean something like, "Besides, you are handsome and sometimes hot, and also a good friend and a good companion, there are men who are more men." I don't know in what sense, possibly better lovers, but more probably she means something like more authoritative, powerful, commanding, not particularly myself. And it's known that some women, possibly many of them, value such features, although it is not much politically correct to admit it. Anyway, I'm getting more and more obsessed with this old story of possible cheating, because I have been loyal during all these years and because I love her. Recently, I found what was a statement by the ex-boyfriend about backdoor sex. Well, with information that I've gathered over time with her conversations with him, I finally confronted her. After a good bit of interrogation, she admitted to having an affair. What irks me the most about all of this is that she isn't in any way remorseful. I have asked her for a timeline of what happened. She doesn't want to share that. I said that I wanted to contact the other man's spouse. She was completely against that as well. She isn't showing any sign of remorse. I don't want to divorce her, but I have grown more and more resentful. She said, "We had sex, so what? I have to consider to have an affair to get revenge or some type of response out of her. I know I'm not in a proper emotional state right now. It's not even the affair that's getting me mad. What's really getting at me is the fact that she doesn't feel like she did anything wrong and is making me feel like the crazy one. I have always had a hunch about this affair. It's been eating away at me, just the curiosity in itself. I have suggested counseling. She tells me I need to get over it, that we don't need counseling. Sorry for the long story. I'd appreciate any opinions, tips, comparisons, criticisms by both sexes. Thanks." OP, if she's not remorseful at all and can't see how what she did was wrong, I don't think you have a lot of options. Frankly, I would leave her. What's to stop her from cheating again if she thinks it's acceptable? The fact that your relationship was going through a rough patch does not make her actions acceptable. And I don't understand why you're so concerned with making us sympathize with the woman that cheated on you for 9 months. If she's not willing to address it, and you're just getting more and more resentful, the relationship doesn't have much of a future. Now for some comments. I couldn't do it. If my wife admitted to cheating without remorse or care, I don't think I could stay with her. No matter what the reason she had or the state of our marriage at the time, I could not be okay with it. And the fact that she doesn't give you a reason and is unwilling to discuss it shows her disregard for your feelings. I couldn't do it. I would leave her. This seems pretty simple to me. Decide for yourself if you would be okay with her cheating again and you not knowing about it. If the answer is yes, well, I don't get that, but good for you. Stay with her. If the answer is no, then you're done. I could 100% understand you forgiving her if she showed remorse for hurting you. But since she doesn't, it's clear she would happily do it again. She had an affair, feels no remorse for what she did, tells you it's just sex, get over it, and has told you not to get counseling. You have feelings for her, so you're going to try to see her in the best light possible. Fortunately for you, I don't and can offer a more objective viewpoint. People who love each other don't betray trust with no remorse. People who love each other don't make them feel lost to the point where they ask random strangers for advice. Obviously, I don't know the specifics of your relationship past what you've posted here, and so I'm by no means qualified to give you end-all expert advice as to what to do. All I can say is that from my standpoint, she either needs to understand what she did to you and own up to it in an appropriate way, you need to leave her, or you need to figure out some way to deal with your emotions until you can move past it, which may never happen.